Welcome, everyone. Happy Tuesday. I'm the Grace Strega, and I'm here to give you your daily collective read for today, Tuesday, April 8th, 2025. What do we have coming through in the cards for today? May I please have the first two cards in our 5-card spread for today? First two cards we are starting our day off with today are the 10, I'm not surprised to see it, the 10 of Swords in its upright in combination with the Justice card in its reversal. I want you guys to hold, I want to work through some of the energy that we're currently experiencing right now. One of the things I want to point out has to do with the fact that we're coming out of a very, very rough eclipse cycle. Why was this eclipse cycle rough? Because we had the combination forces going through this of the Mercury retrograde in combination with the Venus in retrograde. Now, one of the things that we were talking a lot about as it relates to the combination in separation, those two retrogrades are difficult enough, right? Mercury, and again, the retrogrades are always gifts. They always are given to us to present us the opportunity of being able to come into points of accommodation, being able to recognize and identify where the work begins. Now, the Mercury retrograde cycles are not here to break your toaster. They're here to help us understand and recognize the difference between a groove and a rut. The Venus retrograde cycles are not here to make everything look hideous. They're helping us understand and recognize to shine that internal mirror of the self. However, in combination, working through both of those at the same time, it's very, very easy to get very hard on the self, right? It's also very easy to work in that space of feeling a lot of energetic pressure. Why? Because again, I want you to think about the fact that, and we talked a little bit about this coming into this cycle, that internal mirror, right? Working through that context, the space of feeling like a lot of that turning inwards, the over concentration of the self that is often characterized as it relates to the Venus and retrograde cycles. They often create those moments or modalities where it feels like things are energetically directed towards us. But what happens in those spaces and places where we're able to navigate through things with a sense of energetic compassion? The compassion that we give ourselves allows us to find those points of easement. They allow us to find those points of productivity. But it's not easy. It's requiring a lot of communication. And I keep on seeing that one of the advantages that's happening right now, especially as it relates to some of these new connections that are forming, is finding the language in order to articulate how one is experiencing something that is allowing for a level or degree of productivity moving forward. This isn't easy. I keep on seeing, especially for energy in separation, I keep on hearing it feels like the eclipse crash, if you will. That's what it feels like. It feels like a lot of that energetic heaviness that works through that space. But again, what happens when we're able to articulate upon something instead of feeling devastated by it? I just keep on seeing that a lot of energy right now is moving forward and being able to recognize and identify what it feels like to have a progressive conversation. At the same time, I'm also seeing a lot of closing out of cycles right now. And those cycles that are closing out are potentially due to understanding and identifying what feels like it is energetically imbalanced or something that isn't coming into a place of alignment. I'm not surprised to see energy like this as we're moving closer towards that Libra full moon, because a lot of that work in terms of trying to find an even keel, identifying and recognizing a sustainability point, this is allowing for a lot of productive conversations, particularly in the realms of identifying and recognizing what needs to change to facilitate healthy partnership, while at the same time, potentially the closing out of cycles where it feels like that energetic reciprocity isn't there, And not just that it's not there, but there's almost like a refusal to move towards it. You'll recall that we saw that for a lot of the energy deep within divine union, those conversations related to the difference between stubbornness and exquisite insistence, the things that we hold on to because they give us meaning, because we can identify, and because they drive us towards our higher self. At the same time, working through that same context, I keep on hearing like a little bit of that work in relationality to airing grievances, right? To being able to feel the relief in airing grievances. But at that point, that's the moment that I keep on hearing, the moment that the energy feels the ability to articulate upon frustration is immediately allowing for the breakthrough by which new work can begin. Now, this is what I mean about some of this training wheel energy. It's not easy. It feels rough. It feels frustrating. I keep on seeing that there's even a little bit of clumsiness as it relates to some of the energetic connections that are coming together during this time. But I keep on hearing that the watchword for a lot of these partnerships has to do in recognizing and identifying progress, what feels like it is changing, what feels like it is energetically adaptable. It's a lot of that, like the difference between part in our appearance, right? Someone putting in the energetic effort to do something in a different way versus those experiences that we sometimes reach our limitation on because someone is becoming unyielding in something in a way that almost feels like it creates a point of confusion because they're not necessarily able to articulate the reasons why. Now, continuing to get clarification, the center card in today's spread, we have here, I love this, we've got our 9 of Cups in its upright. And do you want to see this? Like, this is the frustration that allows for things to get over the hump, right? Like this is that. I know it's Tuesday, but this is like hump day energy because there's a lot of this like energy about what it takes to get something like over the hump, articulating what that is. And I keep on seeing that working through those points of frustration, being able to recognize and identify, having those points of productivity allow for their own method or degree of breakthrough. But it's like I keep on seeing that for a lot of these energies in separation, it's the articulation point of the new ground that they're finding that is allowing all things to be possible. At the same time, I see that there's a lot of this consideration that's occurring as it relates to past circumstances and situations. But that's why I keep on seeing that a lot of that, like it feels like energetically clearing because it almost feels like that wave of relief that one has as it relates to looking at the past for reference instead of weapons. Now, for masculine and feminine energy that is coming into divine union, I just keep on seeing that there's something really important that's happening right now in the ability to set those energetic standards, to put oneself on a path of determination. There's a lot of that communication that's actively happening right now in those energetic connections that say, like I keep on seeing that this is the energy that is holding themselves to a new energetic standard. But one of the things that we're seeing here as it relates to that standard is like, I just keep on seeing it's like that. It's working through the frustration of the past self and not letting oneself get frustrated at the self to such an extent that you lose the clarity as it relates to what it is that you're building towards. Now, I just keep on seeing that for the energy coming into divine union right now, there's this bridge of communication. There's that relief in being able to articulate upon something that one wasn't able to articulate upon before. It's like a lot of that modality of working through the context of what is energetically possible in the realms of healthy communication. Now, for energy deep within divine union, what's interesting is this doesn't feel so much as it's expansive, so much as it feels very energetically firm and rigid. Why do we see so much of that firmness right now for energy deep within divine union? Because I keep on seeing that for a lot of the energy deep within divine union right now, holding on to something firmly and being able to articulate and amplify why it is intrinsically important. This is allowing for a lot of breakthroughs as it relates to healthy communication. But it's working through frustration. It's potentially even articulating upon what is in one's own power to change versus what is needs to be energetically accepted. Right? It's like I keep on hearing it. It's like it feels almost like road opener energy. Fourth and fifth cards in our 5-card spread. Where's this road opener energy coming from? There it is. We've got here our death card in combination with our tower card. Now there's a lot of energetic intensity that we are identifying here. And I want to stress this. You know, one of the things that we're seeing that's happening right now, and I just kind of want to work you through what we were seeing astrologically to give a little bit of clarity as it relates to, like, I keep on seeing, like, working through any feelings of energetic dread, right? Because I got to explain this. So we've got some planets. The best way I can describe this is that we've got some planets that have been wobbling back and forth across the divide between Aries and Pisces. Okay? I want you to think about the fact that before the retrograde began, we had Mercury and Venus that were situated squarely up in Aries. And then during this retrograde process, they started to almost like move back into Pisces, right? So it's a lot of that. Again, what do we experience when we have Aries moving back into Pisces? Doubting the self, working through feelings of doubt of the self, reconsidering things, reorienting, right? Reintroducing oneself to feelings. And at the same time, we've got Saturn pushing up into Aries as well. So there's a lot of work that we see that is happening right now as it relates to working through feelings long held in the consideration of the time that one has been holding something, right? So there's a little bit of this, like I keep on hearing, it's like, and the way I keep on describing this is it can feel almost like energetic vertigo, because it's like it's recognizing the disorientation as it relates to the emotional weight that one is carrying, right? And that's why I keep on saying that, you know, anything, remember, I want you to let the full moon in Libra that is coming towards us at this time provide that context of guidance, right? Because when we can feel when we feel the energetic onslaught of past emotions, right? But we're able to calibrate it with the observation and perception of the self, right? We don't allow ourselves to be moved by the energy of our emotions, but rather we take into consideration how we feel, right? And we allow that to build into the pathwork of intentional communication. That is groundbreaking. Like, that is groundbreaking. That is expansive. That is an energetic breakthrough point, right? And so that's why we see, and I got to tell you right now, even seeing, and I know how anxious everyone gets when you see cards like the Death card or the Tower. But I don't want you to look at these cards from a place of anxiety. I want you to look at them as the recognition point of being able to identify the limitations of the self that we often have to navigate in order to have an energetic breakthrough, right? Now, and I want to point out the beauty of this right here. Okay, we've got all of these heavy cards, and if you can't see today's spread, if you're not tuning in live, I would encourage you to head over to the Substack so you can see the spread proper when it's posted. All the heavy cards right now, the 10 of Swords, the Death card, and the Tower card, they're outside, right? They're pushed on the outside of the deck. And what do we have within the center of it? We've got here the 9 of Cups, right? So being able to work through anxiety, but not let it impress one's own center of clarity. Like, I just keep on seeing that there's a lot of patience and determination that is occurring. And the beauty of this is, again, like the clarity of seeing something, right? Feeling the emotions, but not allowing the emotions to interrupt the intention is what I keep on hearing. Continuing to get clarification between our 10 of Swords in combination with our Justice card in its reversal. Can I get one card to clarify, please? Clarification coming through right now with the King of Pentacles in its reversal. So this is having a different impact on masculine and feminine energy, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what one feels most aligned to. One of the things I keep on seeing right now that's occurring across all of the frequencies, it feels like, I keep on hearing, it feels like heart opening. It feels like road opening. It feels like a lot of that work and being able to articulate upon something in a way that one hasn't before. And I keep on seeing that for a lot of the energy doing so, that ability of recognizing and identifying what meaning something has to another, this is allowing for a lot of unconventionality during this time, right? This is inventiveness. This is creativity. This is, I keep on seeing there's a lot of that, like creative expansion by means of taking something apart in order to be able to put it back together anew in ways that you haven't considered before. And that's why I keep on seeing that there's a lot of these conversations deep within divine union as it relates to inventiveness, as it relates to, how do I describe this best? Working in the context of what one values versus what one is adaptable to. Now, for feminine energy, this is having a different impact on masculine and feminine right now. For masculine, I keep on seeing that there's something very significant in relationality to, I keep on seeing working in the space of being protective, but not defensive. Remember that we were having a lot of those conversations over the last few days, because remembering, what did we talk about when we feel energetically defensive? When we're energetically defensive, we're effectively in a space where it's hard to listen to something, right? Where it's hard to hear something, where we kind of effectively close ourselves off. But when we're protective, we're able to articulate upon an energetic concern in a way that almost allows for new ground to be formed, right? It's energetic, it's constructive, right? And so that's why I keep on hearing that there's something very important that's happening right now for masculine energy, working through defensiveness in constructive ways, right? And I keep on seeing, to a certain extent, for a lot of masculine energy doing this work, this is like almost healing wounds of intimacy. This is healing a lot of that space where when we feel, and I keep on seeing, like when we are defensive, it's like the ego that like steps in to kind of block or protect something, but it's not able to really articulate the reasons why. So that's why I keep on seeing that for a lot of the masculine energy right now, this could be feeling like a deep moment of creativity and expansiveness, because it's the ability to work through one's own like defensiveness, but like not have it energetically affect the self, like almost have it inform the self that feels like, I keep on seeing, like feels like it's groundbreaking. Now, for feminine energy, I feel like a lot of this is interesting because I see the feminine energy more in the space of being transformative. I see more of the feminine in a space of, and it's interesting too, because you'll recall that I said previously that we saw this cycle of feminine that was feeling a lot more closed off, right? That I saw a lot of the feminine energy that was moving into that space of kind of like, I want to describe it as like high priestess energy, like going into their mind palace, if you will. I'm seeing here that this is like this is feminine, like coming into their spring, if you will, because I'm seeing to a certain extent, this is the feminine that like went inwards to heal so that they can open their wings. So I just keep on seeing that there's something about the feminine coming into a space of flourishing or articulating upon that flourishing. Why are we, and this is happening right now across all of the frequencies. For a lot of the energy coming into divine union, there's a new level or degree of safety that masculine is feeling within the arms of feminine right now. Because again, I want to describe to you that one of the things that we are seeing over the last few days is for a lot of that energy, like reintroducing each other to one another, talking about the hard things from the past, working in that context. A lot of that clarity, I just keep on seeing, it feels, I keep on hearing the word magnanimous, because it's the energy that looks towards one another and says, I know that you consider that there are parts of you that are not ideal, but I want you to understand that to me, you are an energetic masterpiece, right? Like that is why I keep on hearing that this is a renaissance energy that's occurring right now for energy coming into divine union, because it's more of that space of the energy saying, like almost trying to apologize for their mess. And the other partner, the counterpart, is saying, what mess? I don't see a mess here. I see a masterpiece. I see a work in progress that you're building towards. While for energy coming in separation right now, this is why so many of these partnerships that are coming together right now feel so fragile, right? It almost feels like a shell that's breaking. Because I keep on seeing that these are some energies right now in separation that are coming out of relationships wherein it felt like they had to walk on eggshells. Why do we often feel like we have to walk on eggshells? Because remember, we saw that there was something about navigating like volatility there. We saw that there was something about navigating. We've been talking over the last few days about the importance of being able to regulate the self, right? Why is it so vital and important to be able to work in the aspect of regulating the self? Because, and this is why these are chariot lessons, because when we're not in a place that we can regulate the self, and we have an enormity of feelings, we often get caught in those vortexes where it feels like we don't even know what we're doing. Like the emotions guide us. We don't guide them. And often in those moments that we feel led by our emotions, but without intention, I keep on hearing, it's almost like when you lose control. I keep on hearing that those are the moments that you lose control of the chariot of the self, right? Because I want you to think about a chariot, that the importance of a chariot is that the person that is behind it controls the forces ahead of it. So when we have those moments that we feel an enormity of something, but we're not able to be energetically regulated through it, we feel like we're not safe to love because of that amplification of not being able to control the magnitude of what we are experiencing. So that's why I keep on seeing that for a lot of the energy, the ability to disassemble here, the trepidation that they're bringing forth in coming together consciously is almost trying to say to one another, rest assured you're safe with me. Rest assured that I'm not in a space where my emotions lead me. I feel the emotions, but I guide the emotions with intention. Again, chariot partnerships, continuing to get clarification between our justice card in combination with our 9 of cups in its upright. One card to clarify. We have here our page of swords in its upright. Now, I keep on seeing there's clumsiness. There's some clumsiness in these partnerships that are occurring right now. There's a little bit of this, I keep on seeing, there's a lot of this, and I want to stress this. The reason I'm bringing this up is because you'll recall when we were talking about the warrior partnerships during that Mars retrograde, there was no hesitation. Those energies were coming together. They were holding firm. They were I kept on describing it. It was like Wonder Twins energy. Not so much right now. These are energies. There's a lot. I keep on getting, it's a lot of red light, green light. It's a lot of stop, start, stop, start, stop, start. But why is there so much stop, start here? There's a lot of stop, start here because I keep on seeing this is energy that is working very carefully in setting in I keep on seeing setting in being mindful of where the other energy of the counterpart is and I keep on hearing being conscientious in the presence of the counterpart, right? It's a lot of this like you first, no, you first. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's a lot of this like heightened courtesy, if you will, because it's almost like energy that's like going out of their way to hold the door for one another, because there's so much of this fragility as it relates to healing from experiences wherein there was some kind of like anxiety or concern in relationality to like I almost see like there's trust wounds that are being healed right now. But that's why there's so much of this like trepidation, because it's the conscientiousness that is informing the experiences and saying to one another, rest assured you are safe with me. While for masculine and feminine energy that is coming into divine union right now, I just keep on seeing there's almost like a bit of like there's almost a bit of playfulness here that feels like a relief. It almost like I feel like Mercury going direct is almost like it's almost like the morning after the storm, if you will. You know, like this was energy that was doing like a lot of heavy unpacking, like over the last few days, working through a lot of that Saturn moving up to that like little cluster of planets. And so I see even now that there's something about taking something lightly, or even like being playful about something that has gravity, that is helping the energy, you know, feel some kind of relief and release in saying to one another, you know, this is what the context of the self is one that is not heavy to carry, right? It's like I keep on hearing it's like the lightening of the energetic burden. While for masculine and feminine energy right now, deep within divine union, there's something really important and significant as it relates. I keep on hearing it's like, it's interesting because for energy deep within divine union right now, it feels a little bit like walking surely, but telling others to tread lightly. Why do we see something like that that's occurring right now for energy within divine union? Because, you know, there's something about the intentionality as it relates to being able to articulate and speak towards what's important, that almost says, don't, like, the kindness that we bring to something is intentional. It's not conditional, right? You know, like there's a lot of that. I keep on seeing, that's why I keep on hearing for a lot of the energy right now, deep within divine union, having like protective conversations is almost feeling like the amplification of care, because it is the articulation point in being able to describe to another like the significance of meaning of something. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of this, like I keep on seeing there's a lot of this energy having a breakthrough in finding the words in order to articulate what something means to them, or the significance of it. Like a lot of deep conversations, continuing to get clarification between our Nine of Cups. Apologies for hitting the mic for those who are listening to the podcast as I'm like slapping my mic. Clarification between our Nine of Cups in combination with our Death card energy. Can I get one card to clarify, please? Yep, there's that 10 of Pentacles in its reversal. So, you know, there's something to be said right now. You know, here's like, I keep on seeing this for a lot of the energy deep within divine union, which is having to it's working, it's like it's letting off steam, it's working through frustration, but not I keep on seeing resilient but not devastated. Like there's just a lot of this energy here that I keep on seeing deep within divine union that is very solution focused, not problem driven, right? Working in the context of a lot of, I keep on seeing, like, remember when I talked about Renaissance energy? Like this is it. Like new ground, like being able to see something and identify and work through, like not getting devastated as to where one finds oneself, but working in the opportunity of the self as you continue forward. And that's hard, right? It's frustrating. Like sometimes when you have those moments, it's like it makes you upset, but it also fortifies you, right? Like there's something really important about that here. And I need to stress this. I just want to show you guys, this is a little bit of this, this is a little bit of the energy that we're finding right now between masculine and feminine. Because for masculine and feminine, remember when I was saying that there are synchronous lessons that are occurring during this time. I just keep on seeing that for masculine right now, there's something, I gotta tell you, like there's something very expansive that is occurring here with this Page of Pentacles in its reversal. Like seeing something in a different way, having a different perspective. You know, like there's something about that in itself feels like, I keep on seeing, it almost feels freeing to the masculine energy. For feminine energy, it's interesting because this is feminine coming into a space of like stability, coming into a space of, I keep on seeing, like working in that place of being specific, or being able to speak from a point of feeling confidence, like finding the words to articulate and amplify something. And everything I keep on seeing here, and this is why I keep on describing it as Renaissance energy, because it's looking at something, and not from the perspective of the past, but not from the anticipation of the future, but in like an entirely new context. And I'm not surprised to see this energy right now, because if you'll recall, one of the things that we've been talking about that's happening, that's very intriguing, is the fact that we've got a little bit of like an interesting experience that's happening now, because Neptune is in Aries. Neptune has moved forward into Aries. And Neptune, I like to describe Neptune as like the back end energy. It's the memory bank. It's all of the things that we hold in the past coming into a space of having new meaning. Mercury, Mercury, the energy that innovates, the energy that usually like is this, the energy that spearheads, is in the back now. Mercury is like behind Neptune, right? Because it's like, and I gotta say, like, it's almost like a little bit of a slingshot that we're experiencing now, because Mercury was like, during the retrograde, I just need to point this out. During the retrograde, we had Venus and Mercury that were in Aries, pulled back into Pisces, and now are probably going to potentially slingshot back forward into Aries. So it's a lot of that, like, you know, like setting the intention, moving with determination so that you can push forward, right? But that's why I kept on saying, like, making sure that you're not working in this context right now of being devastated, like just building into intentionality, like not working into the space of taking things personally. I'm going to keep saying this as we continue through this until Venus retrograde is over on the 12th. I believe it's on the 12th. And then boom, we've got that Venus, we've got that full moon in Libra on the 13th. Continuing to get clarification between our Death card in combination with our Tower card in its upright. Can I get one card to clarify, please? Clarification coming through right now with the Two of Wands in its reversal. This card, man, we've just been seeing this card popping up a lot. And here's the thing about it. Like, and I got to tell you, like, this is why I was really stressing to make sure that you weren't assuming things as it relates to the intentionality of things that you were experiencing or navigating during this Venus Mercury cycle. Because everything that we kept on seeing to a certain extent, I just need to stress this, coming through that distortion point, right? Things like, what is the difficulty that we often experience with Venus in retrograde cycles? Again, it's hard to see beauty, right? That's why I keep on joking. I'm like, when we go through these Venus and retrograde cycles, it's not the reason they tell you to avoid beauty things. It's not because everybody who knows how to cut hair forgets how to use scissors. It's because our perception, okay, our perception of beauty gets distorted. It gets harder to see beauty. So, I keep on seeing that there's a lot of this work as it relates to going through. And then in Mercury, like, what does Mercury retrogrades do? It's easy to misunderstand. It's easy to miscommunicate. It's easy to get the wrong idea, miscommunications. So that's why I kept on telling you guys during this cycle, please, 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 don't take things personally. Be productive. Give others the benefit of the doubt. Because that same grit, right? When we experience something that feels like it triggers us, that feels like it's directed towards us, when we introspect upon it, it allows the context for us to do something better. It allows the context to be able to address something in a way that we haven't before. And I'm going to tell you right now, there's something about this cycle that we're just coming out of that felt like a bit of foreshadow work, right? A lot of that energetic heaviness. But again, that's why the gift that we had coming with that Leo in the Leo full moon prior to entering that eclipse cycle, leading with compassion, the compassion of the self, the compassion for those around you, allows for that moment, right? Like, that's the grit. That's like working through the grit that we often experience that allows us to see ourselves more clearly, right? And again, I'm going to get clarification on this because this is what I'm seeing here, especially with this King of Pentacles and the Page of Swords. What do you do with grit on the mirror of the self, right? One card to clarify. Clarification coming through right now. Knight of Pentacles, right? This was like this was the overarching theme of a lot of this eclipse energy that we experienced. It was rough, man. It's still rough. Coming out of the eclipse cycles can be just as rough as being in them, because it feels effectively like there was a lot of grit being thrown on the mirror of the self. And that was either internalized grit, right? Experiencing something that feels like it was directed towards the self, or it might have been feeling like, those situations or circumstances that another's, creating those points of frustration. But what happens when we feel frustrated as it relates to the perception of how another person holds us? Well, we don't, we build into the clarity in seeing ourselves, right? We use that grit to polish the mirror, because that same grit, when we apply it, it makes us see ourselves with more clarity. So everything I keep on seeing here around these cycles, it's like and it still continues, like it still holds to a certain extent. Being able to work through something that energetically frustrates you, but instead almost allowing it to help you motivate forward, finding those productivity points, finding those efficiencies, not allowing yourself to be frustrated, just allowing it to focus and allowing you to move through it. Like that. That's why I keep on saying, being able to come out of this eclipse cycle at an even keel, that's its own form of breakthrough. If all you're doing right now is being able to be consistent, I really want to stress to you, everything beyond that in some cases is extra credit. So congratulations if you're doing that right now. I want you to appreciate that, okay? I want you to have a point of appreciation for how much it takes to be able to move in that way. Continuing to get clarification between our Page of Swords in its upright in combination with our Ten of Pentacles in its reversal. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with that Nine of Wands in its reversal. Listen, I'm going to say this again. We talk, we have all this, we do all this chatter, we have all this chit chat, we get all excited about the fact that these eclipse seasons come in. That's not what we need to focus on. We need to focus more on the energetic come down coming out of these eclipse cycles. We need to focus on the exhaustion that we often feel. The thing about it that can be so disorienting, and the reason that this particular eclipse might be feeling very disorienting as we move beyond it, is just a reminder, the eclipses don't have characteristics. They amplify what's going on energetically at the time that they occur. And we went into this eclipse at a very discordant note. We went through that, we literally hit this eclipse at a moment. The Mercury retrograde started as we were going through a Venus in retrograde. So everything felt like we started feeling this over concentration of things that were focused towards us in non-positive ways. And then we feel we feel the amplification of energy, and in a way that helps power us through the eclipse cycle. But then we experience this like drop when we come out of the eclipse cycle, and it's almost worse because the energy itself hasn't changed. It just feels like a sense of feeling crestfallen. It's like, I keep on calling it, it's like the doldrums after the eclipse. It's like the blah energy. And that's why I kept on saying, making sure that you are leading with intention through that eclipse cycle would mark the difference between coming out of the eclipse cycle and being like, I said what I said, versus someone saying, oh no, what did I say? Right? Because we're not working on being triggered. But that's why sometimes you can be even more triggered now, because now you've got the irritability point of the eclipse on top of all the things you were feeling, at least when the eclipse was like, booming. It's like, I like to picture eclipses like rave energy, right? And like, everybody's like, oh my God, oh my gosh. And then the rave, and like the lights come on and you're like, that's the worst part of the time. Like, that's the worst part. So if you're feeling like that right now, please don't get triggered. Please work on, again, let the guidance point of the Libra full moon that we're moving towards help you. All these lessons, they tell us what we're going to be working on next. So what's going to help you right now? Look to the sky. What's going to help you right now through the doldrums of the afterglow of this eclipse cycle? Balance. Libra energy. Working on what creates a sense of balance for the self. Now remember, when we were coming into the eclipse, I was saying that the focal point was trying to find your anchor, something to help ground you during the eclipse. What you want to find now to help you through some of the doldrums of this eclipse is building into those mantras or those manifestations that help you feel energetically balanced and aligned. Continuing to get clarification between our Nine of Pentacles in its reversal in combination with the Two of Wands in its reversal. This is going to pass. This is going to pass energetically. It's not always going to feel like this. That's a nice thing. Change is constant. But the thing about it, I'm going to tell you right now, okay, I need to stress this. Mercury is behind Neptune, okay? The caboose, the engine is behind the caboose right now, okay? And so it feels confusing. It feels like you're probably feeling like there's this, like a lot of emotions. Like you're probably feeling a lot of emotions right now, right? And the thing about it is when we're working in that context, we feel that emotion, like it feels like, and I keep on seeing, and this is why it feels like chariot energy, because like in a way the way I like to picture it right now is like Mercury's got to push the emotions up the hill, right? Like sometimes it is advantageous to have the force, the innovation force behind the density of memory, because it can give that like, it's like that lift, that little oomph to get something over the hill. So I keep on seeing, I want you to be consistent right now. I want you to be focused. I want you to continue to not, and I know how hard, I know you're probably like screaming at me right now, but like, trust me, I also have to feel this energy, but that ability of doing so, right? having that, like letting that force of determination guide you with, and I need to point this out, not being frustrated, but being very determined as it relates to like what the force of your intention is. I keep on seeing that gift that we give to each other right now, it allows for the context wherein things are possible, right? It's not, it's like I keep on seeing, it's like it is the difference when everything, like when everything feels like it is coming apart at the seams. There's something very beautiful about the ability to keep on weaving, is what I keep on hearing. Continuing to get clarification between our Knight of Pentacles in combination with our Nine of Wands in its reversal. And I just want to point this out. If you're not seeing today's spread, I would encourage you to take a look at it, because there's something very beautiful that's occurring here, okay? We've got in the center of our spread today, we have the Nine of Cups in its upright with the Nine of Wands in its reversal, right? So that's, and again, it's very much, again, that same message of, or analogy of weaving, right? When things are falling apart, the gift that we give each other is continuing to bring them together, right? Not focusing, and I keep on seeing, this is why for a lot of the energy right now across the frequencies, I keep on seeing a lot of breakthroughs that are potentially happening, or a lot of grieving, a lot of letting go. But what is being let go of? One card to clarify, right? I keep on, again, this is why these lessons are so heavy right now, specifically because you'll recall that during that full moon in Virgo that we experienced, there were a lot of conversations that we were having as it relates to healing from the healing from the work of the higher self. Now, why do we talk about this? Because when we're building into balance, when we're building into finding the balance of the self, we've been working on the construct of understanding. And the way I like to describe it is everything that we have is a gift, right? The ego is like our friend, but our friend who like gets carried away with things, right? Ego always wants to protect everything. But that's why we have to work to check our ego, because sometimes when our ego wants to protect us, they push us away from things that are for us, right? So we come into that healthy space of navigating that. The higher self, we always want to strive for the higher self, but when we're too focused on that, we feel like we're always falling short. We feel like we're always failing. We feel like nothing that we do is ever good enough. When we find balance, we find the ability to navigate between those points, and that's where we find ourselves. And everything I keep on seeing right now, there's a lot of energy in separation that are potentially healing from circumstances or situations where another was articulating that perfection was conditional in order to move into partnership. Because when someone articulates that perfection is required to move into partnership, that's rather convenient, because perfection is never reached, right? Perfection is we talk about the fact here that perfection is a cardinal direction. It's not a locationality. It's not something that you can find on the map. It's something that we move towards. We always journey towards together. But often in those situations when another person is demanding perfection in order to allow for progress, we sometimes have those moments that are devastating, that we recognize that that is an impossibility point, because that is something that is always out of reach. It's literally the characterization point that one can always find something that needs work in order to say that that is conditional upon being able to move forward. Whereas healthy energetic connection is not one that demands perfection from another. They work together to make perfection. They join in that endeavor. And so I keep on seeing that there's something bittersweet about, like, this is why some of the partnerships that are coming together right now are so difficult, specifically and particularly because these are the energies that are recognizing and identifying the fact that there's something very significant and important in the sense of seeing that occurring in real time, seeing and identifying someone that is working in the same modality as the self to come into that point of working on making something perfect. That's why I keep on hearing there's almost like this release of frustration that's occurring in that moment, because this is a lot of energy that's getting clarity as it relates to past circumstances in the presence of the current energetic cycle, right? So there's like a lot of, like, I keep on hearing it's like hard healing, because it is the clarity of observation that is allowing for that breakthrough of self, right? It's like the understanding that makes you frustrated at the moment that you energetically see it. While for masculine and feminine energy right now that is coming into divine union, this is why I see that there's a lot of that energy navigating circumstances or situations with a sense of compassion. There's a deepening of partnership that's happening here. The articulation and being able to express something that one has never expressed before. I keep on hearing like this is energy that's saying that they're going somewhere that they've never gone before in partnership. But the going where they've never gone before in partnership is in the ability to share the heart space, to articulate the meaning and significance of the self, to feel fully seen. And never do we experience love more so than in those moments that we feel fully seen by our counterpart, right? Like I keep on seeing like this is the energy that almost feels like they are unclothed, but they're unclothed not because of like the spiritual unclothing, the ability to be open with another and to feel held in that embrace. While for masculine and feminine energy right now that is deep within divine union, this is a lot. I keep on seeing that this is a lot of the energy being very clear upon something, working to articulate upon a point in such a way of being able to like I keep on hearing being able to pinpoint something in a way that one couldn't before, landing upon ideas, having those energetic breakthrough points. And there's a lot of fine tuning that is occurring for energy deep within divine union right now. But like there's a lot of that fine tuning in a context that, like, I keep on seeing, allowing for new ideas, new directions, new point of views, right? It's almost like that expansiveness of being able to, like, land upon something that it's its own form of breakthrough. Continuing to get clarification between our Nine of Wands in its reversal in combination with our Five of Cups in its reversal. One card to clarify, I like it. We've got the Moon card here. Now, the Moon card is very intriguing in this spread because, you know, whenever we see the Moon card, we always have to navigate the territory of the unknown, right? There's always an aspect or a level of uncertainty that we have to reconcile in any modality, right? This is why we often attribute this card to shadow work. You know, I always find it intriguing because I know others often interpret like Tower card, Death card as shadow work. I often feel like the Moon card is shadow work because, you know, one of the things that we often have to wrestle with as it relates to our own personal experiences is working in the capacity of what is beyond our reach to know or understand, right? But that's what I keep on seeing that is really beautiful here. Because I keep on hearing that when we are working in the space of the unknown, we navigate according to all conditions, right? Right. And that's why I keep on hearing that for a lot of the energy right now, there's like a bit of a breakthrough that's occurring. Because everything I keep on seeing here, I just keep on seeing that there's some energy and separation whose eyes are becoming clearer, particularly as it relates to past situations that felt like they were like felt like everything was under the cover of darkness, that there was all of that confusion or uncertainty in relationality to what was happening in a connection. is now building into the context of relationships that in every way, shape, and form are trying to provide context and clarity. And it's in those moments that we understand that we don't need to know what's going to happen. We just need to plan for what could happen, that we suddenly feel safe in the arms of new energetic connections, because that is what we identify as conscientious, right? The word conscientious means, it doesn't mean all knowing. I need to stress this. This is important. Conscientious does not mean all knowing. It doesn't mean that someone operates with an unbending certainty in relationality to what is occurring. But when we are conscientious, it is not necessary to know what is going to occur, because we can energetically prepare for any of the conditions that may arrive. So I keep on seeing that there's a lot of energy right now in separation, being conscientious as it relates to what could occur in future partnership. And even in that space of conscientiously planning for unknowns, this is the energy that is further articulating and amplifying the care and concern they put as it relates to building into a connection, because these are not the relationships of someone saying, let's just see how it goes, right? This is the energy that says we don't need to just see how it goes. We can plan and prepare for any circumstance. While for masculine and feminine energy right now, and that is coming into divine union, this is why we're also seeing a lot of this work here in relationality to working through the context of an energetic breakthrough point. Because for a lot of the energy working in that context here, I keep on seeing there's this opening up, right? There's this process of revealing to one another even more of the self. And one of the ways that we build the context of love, this is how we heal the wounds of intimacy. We heal wounds of intimacy by sharing parts of ourselves that we never shown before, that we've never expressed before. And in those moments that we articulate that and we feel held in the embrace of the counterpart, never more do we feel seen and held, because that is the energy of the counterpart that says, everything that you put before me, I find to be even more of a masterpiece. While for masculine and feminine energy right now, deep within divine union, I just keep on seeing that for a lot of the energy deep within divine union right now, this is feeling more energetically frustrating, because this is the energy that is effectively articulating and doing the hard work of, again, identifying the difference between stubbornness and protectiveness, right? Defensiveness and protectiveness. Because what have we been talking about for a lot of that work? When we're energetically defensive, right? We don't want to hear something. We don't want to expand, right? We often can tell that something is coming from the ego, because what does the ego say? I don't want to hear it, right? Like it doesn't create that space of wanting to hear something, because we understand often that is indicative of the ego that has a blind spot around something. I keep on seeing that when we hold on to something firmly and it's important to us, we're very willing to talk about it. The higher self is always like, I'm holding on to this because it is intrinsically important. How much time do you have? Like that ability to sit down and unpack something. It's almost like that unfolding process, right? It's like origami. It's almost that space of saying, like, I will talk about this endlessly because it is so significant and important. So I keep on seeing that this is a lot of the energy that's working through the frustration point. That again, and it's interesting too, because you'll remember, and I need to point this out, in the last energetic cycle, right, we were working through the fact that Mars was in retrograde. And what was a lot of the work that we were identifying during that time? That was the difference between courage and confidence, right? That often courage and confidence look very similar, but they're very different, because you don't need courage when you have confidence, right? When you're sure of something, you don't need to be brave. But when we're courageous, we take that leap of faith. We often, being courageous, feels like we're doing something terrified, right? This is a lot of that work that we're seeing, and I'm not surprised to see this. These are the Gemini Taurus lessons of helping us identify the difference between stubbornness and protectiveness, right? The stubbornness of the self that is almost a refusal to hear something for fear of revealing something about the self that one is not eager to see, right? Versus the resilience and the exquisite insistence of something that we hold on to because it has intrinsic meaning, by which we are ever eager, ready, and willing to explore it, because by exploring it, we understand more of ourselves in the process. Final card for today's spread between our Four of Cups in combination with our Moon card is, we have here our Two of Swords in its upright. So I'm not surprised to see this card here today, because you'll remember we've coming up into that full moon in Libra, working in the context of balance. And this card, I love the Two of Swords because it has a lot to do with the recognition point of finding the sweet spot of the self, right? This is a lot of that conversation that we talk about in relationality to finding balance within the self. And when we're trying to find balance within the self, how do we go about doing that? Do we shed the ego entirely? No, you need the ego. Everything is a gift. The ego is there to protect us. Having an ego that we are proud of, something that we see, right? Something that we're not blind to, something that we stand by because it feels like it's energetically representative of us. This is how we discover ourselves. This is how we find our voice. This is how we find our point of confidence. While for, again, working in the context of the higher self, right? It's like working in that space of identifying that we always feel like there's something that we could be doing better. Does that mean that we give up because perfection is always out of reach? Absolutely not. The more that we strive to come into perfection of the higher self moves us into the aspiration of ideal of who we aspire to be. So a lot of that work, finding that balance point, feeling that even keel, right, between the energetic ego that we're proud of and the higher self that we don't feel bludgeoned by, that but we climb towards for our ideal. This is how we find that point of unification as it relates to, again, what feels good and what is good. Final card for today's spread. There's that Hangman card, which we will be studying at our Tarot Church class, which will be happening on Wednesday, April 16th, just in about a week, if you'd like to become a part of that class program. It's not easy. It feels rough, especially energetically right now. It's not about, like, I need to point this out. Being in a healthy space isn't about doing what feels like it's energetically indulgent of the self, right? A healthy spiritual journey isn't just about what feels like it validates us. It's what allows us to question ourselves. It's the ability to navigate and recognize and understand the self further. And that's why I keep on seeing that for a lot of the energy right now working through, I told you, like a lot of this chariot energy that we're seeing, finding the ability to overcome the hurdles of the self, working through personal frustration, not getting into a space of feeling woe is me, not getting too hard on the self to such an extent, because what happens when we enter woe is me mentality? We say, oh, there's nothing that can be done. This is just the way it is. When we come into that space of woe is them, it's not my fault, their responsibility, right? That's awful convenient. It leaves our hands free. This is why this Hangman energy is so important, because this is the energy right now in separation that is working through the mutability of discovering someone, that it isn't afraid of putting the work in. But at that moment that you finally are in alignment to someone that is just as invested in moving something forward as you yourself are, you suddenly receive clarity on anything that came before, on where all of that tension was. I see this energy being like, if this is how easy it could be, what on earth was that, right? It's almost like it's opening the eyes to the recognition of what felt like it was unnecessarily difficult, right? That's why I keep on seeing that there's a lot of breakthrough that's happening right now in new partnerships, but also a lot of frustration that's being worked through. While for masculine and feminine coming into divine union, everything I keep on seeing here has to do with building. Like, I just keep on seeing, like, this is like a heart opening moment for a lot of the energy coming into divine union, because this is a lot of energy that was coming together during that Mars retrograde cycle. These are the warrior partnerships with someone coming to another and saying, I am not perfect. And this is the energy that is saying to one another, what gave you the impression that you had to be perfect in order to be loved? Immediately being able to heal on another context. While for masculine and feminine energy deep within divine union, this is the energy that's at being unyielding. Why is the energy deep within divine union being unyielding? Because when we hold on to something that is valuable and important, we're always eager to explain and articulate to another why. Right? And I keep on seeing that ability of being able to amplify and articulate upon the why. This is the energy that recognizes the difference between energy that is expansive, energy that is always working to understand and pursue the self, versus those pathworks of resistance that feel more ego driven. Because often when we're operating too much in the space of the ego, it's like we just want to have earmuffs to things. We don't want to hear it. We energetically fear something. We try to avoid it. Right? And I keep on seeing that there's a lot of this energy that's saying to one another, not being afraid of a difficult conversation. That is our daily collective read for today. I want to thank you so much for being here to experience it. Just a reminder, if you would like to book a personal reading with me, you can do so on my site. Please remember, if you book a personal reading with me, it is a 2-step process. You have to book the reading, you have to pay for the reading. Please make sure you do both if you'd like to have that reading. Most importantly, please remember that I will never, ever, 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 ever reach out to you for a personal reading. I will never DM you. I will never PM you. I will never slide into your inbox and tell you that I have a very important message that only I can deliver. The only way you can book a reading with me is if you book one on my site. So I encourage you to do it there. Also, a couple of updates before we move into personal readings today. First and foremost, thank you to everyone who participated in my recent class on the Justice Card. Our next class will be held on Wednesday, April 16th at 6 p.m. PST, 9 p.m. Eastern. We will be continuing our studies into the tarot with a focus on the Hanged Man. If you would like to become a part of that tarot class program, all you need to do is head over to my Substack and become a paid subscriber. Your paid subscription to my Substack is your ticket of entry into our live classes each and every month. You will also, as a paid subscriber, monthly subscriber, have access to over 9 hours worth of material in the Tarot Church Library. It's not necessary to catch up. I'll be doing my best to give you a recap on everything that we've studied thus far in those classes at the beginning of each class, but the material is there for you to receive as you are ready to receive it. You will also have access to a one-on-one chat with me and the other students to ask any questions that you may have in relation to anything that we are studying or have currently studied. And if you become a founding member to my Substack, not only will you receive a discount on the full year's worth of classes, you will also receive a complimentary one-on-one mentorship class with me, wherein I will meet with you personally to assess where you are on your personal tarot journey and give you the best insights in terms of how to utilize those classes to the best of your advantage going forward. You will also have full access to the entirety of the Tarot Church Library. That is over 12 hours worth of material in an ever-growing library. You'll also have access to I also want to let you guys know that even if you don't become a paid subscriber to my Substack, I would encourage you to follow me there to stay up to date on any new offerings or services. I also post my weekly newsletter there, which will let you know about my in-person events as well as my online live schedule. You'll also be notified as to any new offerings that I'm offering. Speaking of offerings, on top of my standard life path readings, I also offer mentorship classes. These are for any of my clients seeking a more personalized most educational experience with me. I take a very limited number of students for this reason, as those classes are focused on each individual's personal spiritual goals and journey work. I am also happy to offer weekly tarot insight classes, weekly tarot insight packages. These are for any of my clients that are seeking weekly tarot support. You can purchase those again weekly or bi-weekly as your schedule permits. I'm also very happy to now offer dream interpretation readings. Those can be purchased on an individual level per dream or as a series. I would encourage you, if you purchase the series, to make sure that you are keeping a dream journal, as we will meet weekly or bi-weekly with that journal and utilize the tarot to understand the key themes and messages coming towards you in the dream space. I want to thank you guys so much for being here today and sharing in these messages, and we will do this again